And we will return now more to the days to come, and Gerry Stahl, who is the program chair of the conference, will give you a preview of what will happen over the next 3 days.
Thanks, Gerhard. Before I get totally wired, I can't wait to welcome you all. You can't imagine how exciting it is for me, after 2 years of working and thinking about this conference, to be able to look out and see the 400 most important members of the CSCL community looking back. So, hi everybody. This conference, in my mind, is all about community building of the CSCL community. So people have asked me where I am. Sometimes I wonder myself this past year. When Tim Koshman twisted my arm and convinced me how exciting it would be to take on this huge effort of organizing this conference 2 years ago, and for most of the time since then, I was at the university working with Gerhard at the Center for Lifelong Learning. In the summer, I went off to Germany to work on a European Union CSCL project, which was unresistible to me, developing software for students in Europe. And I just accepted a position at Cscl, so I'll be moving to Philadelphia now in the fall. So the theme of this week's conference is Foundations for CSCL Community. And I wasn't quite sure what we meant by that when we chose that as the theme. But I think conferences like this are the primary means of building a community and the primary time that we come together. And we've given some thought to how we can augment that with other things like online virtual communities. But the conference is really the big thing in our community. And within that community, within the planning of that, Gerhard mentioned the steering committee, but I'd like to ask everyone on the program committee to stand up now. We had an incredible program committee who did a lot of work, so if you're on the program committee, would you please rise? Stay standing, and I'd like all the additional reviewers to stand up too. Reviewing the submissions was an incredible job. CSCL has always been a very international community, and it's becoming even more so. So I'd like all the people who came here from outside of the United States to stand up, and let's see how many there are. In addition to the people who form a community, according to my theory of CSCL, artifacts play a very important role. The proceedings is an artifact that gets heavier and heavier reading, and I put a lot of effort into putting that together. CSCL books, Tim Koshman and others are bringing out a new volume on CSCL. We had hoped that it would be out for the conference, but it'll be out very soon. And we're producing a DVD. As you can see, we're also live streaming to the rest of the world, parts of this conference. In my mind, the main two things that we're trying to achieve at the conference are to build a community through building group knowledge, shared knowledge. So we want this conference to be a place where you learn about CSCL even more than you already came here knowing. And in addition, to address foundational issues of CSCL. I think there's room for a lot of progress in addressing the foundational issues. And I think that over the course of this week, you will hear a lot of ideas that do address those issues. And it's really up to you as a community to put those ideas together and do something with them. Here's my own list of what I consider some of the foundational issues of CSCL. And you may see some of these reflected in the program. First of all, I think a characteristic of the CSCL work, which maybe differentiates it from other educational technology communities, is an emphasis on group learning as opposed to or as supplementary to individual learning, and on social cognition. And this has implications for all of the other issues. In other words, the artifacts that we develop, including our software, our CSCL software, are artifacts that are meant to be shared within a community of learners. The pedagogies that we develop are pedagogies for group learning, and therefore are necessarily different from pedagogies that stress the individual learning outcomes. Certainly the technology of CSCL is basically communication media to support collaboration within groups and to allow communities to communicate. And I think that has implications for our research methodologies, both quantitative and qualitative. And those are, I think, big open questions that I wouldn't want to try to give answers to, but I think a lot of people here with their presentations have ideas along those lines. So my next 9 slides will go over the 9 conferences that are going to be going on in this hotel during the next week. And some of them really are equivalent to whole conferences unto themselves. How many people participated in tutorials, workshops, or the doctoral consortium today and yesterday? And did you think it was good? If you thought it was good, let's give it a hand. As soon as I stop lecturing you, the interactive part of the conference will begin over in the next room. And every night, tonight and the next 2 nights, we'll have the short paper presentations. And these are thought of as interactive poster sessions. And as an extra incentive, we have food and drink over there. So I hope this is really, in a way, the heart of the content of the conference. Most of the presentations will be during these sessions. And the posters will be up all day, and I encourage you to go over, even when there's not food and drink over there, and browse around. And find out which posters look the most interesting, and then go during the 5 to 7 period to talk to the presenters. As Gerhard mentioned, we have 2 very exciting keynote speakers. The reason I think they're very exciting, other than the fact that they're famous people within our community, is that their presentations this week are really going to define new paradigms for CSCL, which I think is a crucial thing to be doing this week, and fits in with the foundational thinking that I hope we'll be doing collaboratively. We also have, as discussants, we have the organizers of the last 2 CSCL conferences, the one in Maastricht in Europe about a year ago, and the one 2 years ago in Stanford. During the day, during 2 sessions during Wednesday and Thursday, will be the long paper presentations, and we've tried to group them into panels, thematic panels where they fit together. So there will be tracks on theory, methodology, pedagogy, and technology, and they'll be in this room and the adjoining room in 3 tracks with discussants. And I hope that it's up to you, really, as the audience, to make these interactive events, to have them really full of discussion and stimulation. But the ones we can call interactive events should be even more interactive, where people are presenting their work in the sense of showing you systems that they've built, letting you use them, and having a lot of interaction around those. Those will be taking place downstairs, right below here, in smaller rooms when the paper sessions are up here. And this is really a mini conference of its own, with themes like collaborative workspaces, community and culture, new media, online communities, PDAs and ubiquitous computing, professional development, and representational scaffolding. In addition, if that's not enough, we have a couple of special forums or panels, and we have demos. We have a number of demos, which not tonight, but the next 2 nights will be in with the poster sessions. So you can see some of this year's software for Cscl. The last day, we'll all be meeting back here as one community. Hopefully it'll be a more of an interactive event. We'll have microphones in the audience. And it'll be a day to reflect upon what we've experienced during the week. We also have sort of our third keynote speaker. Rather than inviting a third person to give us a keynote, we decided to pick the best papers that were submitted, or the best papers within the themes on the foundations of Cscl. So we'll have several really top-notch papers given to the whole plenary audience on Friday. And then we have this idea of idea catchers. So you should be all week long looking for good ideas that pop out and seem really exciting and useful to you, and then bring those on Friday and share them with the group. This is something that was very effective at EuroCSCL. And we'll close with an invitation and some scenes from the Norwegian fjords. We'll also have a presentation of some of the video that's being taken. We'll have a number of teachers here, and they're going to be in the different panels during the week, and then they'll give us some feedback about what our ideas look like from a teacher's perspective, from a classroom perspective. And we'll also have people who are assigned to come up with some reflections on the various sessions. Finally, in addition to the physical conference that you're all part of, we've tried to put together a virtual conference and a persistent organizational memory for what takes place here. So these videos, for instance, are going to be burned into DVDs, which will be mailed to you after the conference, and which will include the proceedings not only from this conference, but from all of the past CSCL conferences. We'd like to put the proceedings of future CSCL conferences on, but they haven't been submitted yet. Okay, finally, a couple announcements from the registration desk. So to follow up with these, go out to the registration desk. As Gerhard mentioned, the cost of this conference is very high, and it's been subsidized, and we've tried to keep the fees very low. But if you went to a workshop during the last 2 days and you forgot to pay your fee at the registration, we'd appreciate it if you would do that. There are wireless cards for your laptops. This whole area has wireless Ethernet. You're welcome to check out cards at registration. There's downstairs, there's a cyber cafe where you can check your email, even if you didn't bring the laptop, and a speaker prep room. There'll be ski tickets. There'll be a table out near registration on Wednesday afternoon if you don't want to bet on getting one of those free tickets on Friday. We have refreshments out all day long. We have extra copies of the proceedings, and I figured out through a complicated calculation that it's less than 1 cent per page. So it's definitely worth more than that, I assure you. There's a message board out there, and I wanted to announce the 2 future conferences. One will be the International Conference on the Learning Sciences, which will take place in October in Seattle, Washington. And there are flyers on that outside. And then we'll hear more about CSCL 2003 in Paradise. So please enjoy the reception. There's food and drink next door, and enjoy the whole conference. Thanks for all coming.
All right.